your dreams trying to tell you something? Author M.B. Mosley teaches you how to decode your dreams and take hold of the manifestations that lay in wait for you in the waking realm. Now, broadcasting all over the world, it's the Dream Interpretation Podcast.
Welcome, family. Please be reminded that all dreams are not a one-size-fits-all, and that each dream may be similar, but is contingent upon each individual's waking life. I conduct dream interpretations based upon my waking life as it pertains to my journey here on earth. As for the requests that are emailed to me, I do a general interpretation as I do not know the individual's spiritual and personal waking life. I am so excited. Welcome to Zip Baby Zip. Zip Baby Zip. That's DZIP, the Dream Zone Interpretation Podcast. Share this podcast with your loved ones, guys. I'm so excited to continually teach you all on how to do dream interpretations. I want to hear about it. You can email me at askmemory2019@gmail.com. And we are also dropping new episodes every other Wednesdays as we activate into this podcast. And the further out we go in the podcast, we're hoping to drop more episodes, and we're hoping to hear from your requests as well. I'm excited for that. So let's get right into it, folks. Drum roll, please. Grab your pens and paper, and 3, 2, 1. All right. Yes, I'm so excited. All right, guys, I'm excited to be back on Zip, Baby Zip. Hashtag DZIP. Okay? The Dream Zone Interpretation Podcast. Without the T. Zip. All right, well, let me not take too long, guys. So we're making progress. We are making progress. We're learning how to... Wait a minute. First and foremost, I want to say, how are you all doing? How are you doing this season? I am doing splendid. Thank you so much for asking. All right, and I hope this podcast finds you well. It's been one of those busy days, guys. I hope this podcast finds you well, and I won't be before you long. Like I was stating earlier a little bit there, we are doing amazing. Okay, like I started at the top of the creation of this podcast is for me to teach you on how to decode your dreams, okay, to get an understanding of your dreams. If you're one of those people that are fascinated and or believe that your dreams are sending a message to you, then I am here to help you understand what those messages are and perhaps even go deeper and do interpretations on your own dreams by yourself from the teachings that we do here. Now, take into consideration, guys, you know my disclaimer already, right? We're taking baby steps. And like I said, if you are one of those people, because sometimes, we live in a world where we can think however we want to think, right? I've just always been of the thought, what should I say? I've just always been of the belief. We should say the belief is the good word to use, that through my experiences and through my dreams, that the spiritual realm, when I lay down and go to sleep, is always in communication with me, and I enjoy decoding the dreams and or watching the manifestations manifesting. Mm-hmm. So as amazing students of the Dream Interpretation Podcast, we are at a marker. We'll try to revert and come to these markers as much as we can so we can gauge our process and our progress as we go along and as I do the teachings on decoding your dreams from your spiritual dream state to your waking state. Now, I want to share something with you today, guys, and I would like to give you this disclaimer up front right now. If you are sensitive to anything and all things death related, then this would be about the time that you'd probably want to tune out of this podcast. And or if you are sensitive to with death related, or I'm not going to talk about anything gruesome or so if you're sensitive to death talks and or anything around death, and as we get deeper into this session today, then you could feel free to just kind of log off I want to give that disclaimer. I'm going to play a soundbite from a person's social media, and the person is now deceased. So if this is also stuff you don't like to listen to, you're like, it's not for me, then I also give you this disclaimer that at any point in time before we get into it, which we're about to do, you can feel free to just log off. However, what is the purpose of today's podcast? Like I say, we're doing a little marker. We're gauging our progress. We've been decoding our little hearts away. And so I want to talk about, because now we're at the point, right, as students, you're thinking maybe, okay, so we are understanding about dreams. What are prophecies? What are premonitions as it pertains to dreams? What are visions? So we could start off, and when I was putting this together, I just really like to keep it layman's, only because layman's has always worked for me. And it's not to insult anyone's intelligence. It's just something that has always worked for me. And so we could start off by dissecting a little bit in layman's terms the definition of premonition, prophecy, dream/vision. And then on today's podcast, we're going to talk a little bit more about the soundbite that I'm going to play by the deceased person. And I'm going to give you a little background on the story of this deceased person. All right. And also, disclaimer, this is in no shape or way or form to scare anyone, or this is not any tactic to put anyone in fear, or, oh my gosh, I really got to pay attention to my dreams. No. We're just going to look at how the universe works. Should we say it like that? We're going to look at how the universe works. All righty. And for some of you, these might be familiar stories. I do have some familiar stories to share later on as we go on our journey. So let's start off with a premonition, right? We've all heard this term, premonition. So let's do the layman's term of a premonition. So layman's term premonition, when you look it up, it says a strong feeling that something is about to happen, especially something unpleasant. Now, some of you may have felt this. I know I have experienced, and look, I'm not sitting up here saying, oh my gosh, I've had premonitions. I'm just humbly saying that I think sometimes in life we have experienced these moments, right? I know one for a fact. I wasn't the first person to say that is a premonition. No. I've told this story so many times now. And forgive me, I don't think I have shared it here, because I cannot see what it would pertain to with me in terms of sharing that story here. But anyway, so I say that lightly because I know if you're anything like me, you're not going around saying, "Oh, premonition." But understanding that a premonition, once again, is that feeling that something is about to happen, especially something unpleasant. Now, I want to put a little disclaimer. Right, so understand with the disclaimer, so many disclaimers today. All right, so folks, with the disclaimer for premonition, understanding that you get that feeling that something, we could say maybe, we can even hinge around the idea of something bad is about to happen. But now understand that you also, remember guys, we're teaching off discerning, being sensitive to your, either you call it your higher self, your intuition, the God in you, and whatever you want to call it. It's that thing within you that nudges you to caution and heed you to it. And I want to put that disclaimer because if you're an individual, for instance, if I'm walking around living my day-to-day life and I'm like always paranoid that something bad's going to happen, then that cannot be translated to being a premonition, right? That cannot. That's kind of like, okay, I'm paranoid. Okay. So that's why I'm cautioning you to also understand, before we call premonition, we want to evaluate and take inventory of how we're viewing it and what lens we're looking at it from. Understanding that the difference between a premonition and the dreams we have, dreams are happening in our spiritual dream state. The premonition tends to happen in our waking life. right? It's that nudge you get. Okay, some want to call it that intuition, some want to call it that gut feeling, some want to call it that hunch, like I've said, higher self, that God in me, that presence, that spirit in me, that thing that's heeding you and cautioning you. You could think of times in your life where, and like I said earlier on, jokingly, honestly, because it's not like oh wow, I got a premonition. No, you just kind of sometimes turn back and look at events in life and be like, wow, wait a minute. Oh, I see why. It makes sense, you know. And I've never been like, oh, it was a premonition. It was just that intuition, that gut feeling, and I remember once again, like I said, I know I've told this story before, but not on this platform. So it was a mobile health care company. It was international at that time. And what happened was I was with this team and we traveled, and I lived by state, right? So I lived in one state, but with close access to the next state, simply crossing over the river. And at that time, I used to carpool with a coworker that lived on this side of the river with me, and typically, always been punctual, on time, early, and so forth. On this particular day, I woke up. Everything was not going the way it was supposed to, and I was just running late. Woke up on the same alarm clock time, early and everything, and I had a sunken feeling in my stomach. I was out of behavior, no breakfast, nothing. And it's just not just the rushed feeling, but it was just like this real dread and this, can't even explain the deep feeling. But I wound up being like close to 30 minutes late, guys. It was really embarrassing. It was weird. Just things were just off, right? And jumped into the car. I had texted my coworker at the time because she was waiting outside for me, and I told her, I apologize, I'm running late, I'll be right there. And it's just everything, right? Jumping, frustrated, huffing and puffing. And so what happened where I lived was closest to one of the bridges that crossed over to go into the other state. And once we get into the car and we get back on the freeway, and we are going towards the bridge. Now, we hadn't approached the very last exit before the bridge, but we were close to the very last exit. Turn on the radio. The local news is talking about an accident that had just happened on that bridge. And mind you, this bridge was one of those, I don't even know why they still have these types of bridges out there, but literally a narrow, rinky-dink bridge, 2 lanes one direction, 2 lanes the other way, but very narrow, very compact. And the bridge is clearly going over water. Hello. And the guard railing is not even that high. I'm just giving you a backstory. And so I remember that morning when we turned on the radio, there was a detour. The entire bridge in the direction we were traveling at was closed. So we made it right at the right to exit the last exit before we got stuck on the bridge, right? And before we got stuck on the bridge with them cleaning up, we were supposed to have left I remember it was an even number. It was 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. was typically the times that we drove out and left. And let's say 6 a.m. and that happened right about 6:15, a little bit after. Goosebump moment is really at the time and time and place we would have been crossing over in a nutshell. That would have been it. And what happened was it was a big rig. And big rig, I only chuckle because I'm like, I live in the Midwest. From living in California, we call them different, everywhere you go is like big rig, 18-wheeler, big trucks. Let me see. So there was like a oil big rig that had literally just like got in an accident, just blew up. Like I gave you the backstory with the 2 itty bitty lanes going that way and coming back the other direction. So I look back on that now, and you do an inventory, not necessarily today, but moments later, probably months later or so forth, they're like, oh my gosh. Talk about feeling weird and all this other kind of stuff. So just remember, also be sensitive, be intuitive, be sensitive is really the word I can use, especially for this part, because sometimes the feelings are very subtle. I've always realized you don't get the, oh my gosh, detour now, we are going to die today. Typically it doesn't happen like that. Okay, they're not over dramatic, right? They're not obnoxious. Unfortunately, I don't know why that is. I'm like, come on, put a neon sign up. But sometimes you're going to get that subtle feeling like something's not right if I keep driving down this road. Let me just turn right. The GPS wants me to keep going straight, but I'm just going to go ahead and turn right. Or whatever it is, that feeling you get, that hunch you get, that, if I do this or whatever it is, it doesn't sit well. I caution you to be in tune, to be sensitive with yourself, higher self, inner self, spirit in you, spirit man in you, God in you. Okay, what you respectfully call your guidance. All right, so we have talked about premonition, and let's go and move on to the next part. Let's do a layman talk about. So we typically hear about prophecies. I've always heard about prophecies. I know you all have also heard about prophecies. I hear about a lot of prophecies going on. And so we then sit and ask ourselves as students of the Dream Decoding University, we then sit back and ask ourselves, what's the difference between prophecy and dreams, right? So let's read layman's and then let's dig a tad bit deeper. All right, so a prophecy here, it says that it is the foretelling or prediction of what is to come. Something that is declared by a prophet, and I'm doing air quotes here with my fingers as you cannot see. And especially a divinely inspired prediction, instruction, or exhortation, a divinely inspired utterance or revelation. There you go. Okay, so some may understand or know of people that may be prophets. It's a fine line. Once again, guys, I'm always going to I'm going to probably wear you out with this, because we have to be in tune with ourselves. We have to be in tune with the God in us, the Creator in us, the spirit man in us, to kind of sense some of these things. I believe that as mankind, we are all equipped with amazing and extraordinary, just special, out the world gifts. And it's a responsibility for each and every one of us to tap into that and to figure out what it is. And I'm giving you this whole entire boring speech because there are people that are self-proclaimed prophets. Am I going to take that away from them? No, because I don't know them. But if I'm going to listen to their prophecy, I'm going to take heed. I'm going to try and discern that which is true and that which is not. And I'm not going to necessarily say, oh, they're lying, or oh, they're, not telling the truth. I don't know. I'm not the one claiming self-prophet. So it's just, okay. It's like typically what I do with most prophets that I listen to or watch, I'm just like, oh, okay, interesting. Because some things are really interesting. The goosebumpy moments are the ones that manifest right on time. You're like, timestamp shows 2016. And this is happening, and you just kind of see like you bounce it back and you see from the timestamp and everything else, like, wow, okay. But okay, so now we know the difference, right? What's the difference between a prophecy and a dream? Again, your dreams are happening in your spiritual dreams or in your spiritual sleeping state. Prophecies, however, are as the layman said, right, declared by a prophet. They're self-proclaimed prophets. They're people that do have this gift, that have the ability to be able to depict what is to come and to give instruction of that. And from being around the realm of prophets and being around people that have prophesized, what I have always gathered is that that gift seems to be one of the most selfless gifts, because what I have personally always witnessed is that a majority prophets are always giving the utterance, revelation, whether I've heard the prophets give on an individual person or a group of people or a whole country. Okay. And I'm only saying that because I'm yet to hear any prophets. And I'm not saying they're not there, but I'm yet to hear any prophets prophesy over their own lives. Like, I have not been around, and I'm not saying they're not there. They're probably there, because I haven't heard all the prophets. But the prophets that have been around have been people, and the prophets that I've seen prophesy have been people that have prophesied over situations and circumstances that are other than theirs, if that makes sense. I mean, I'm yet to hear a prophet say, I'm prophesying that I'm yet. And even if you do take instruction from, let's say, the Bible too, right? When you look at those prophets in the book of ancient wisdom, I like to call it, the prophets, they also gave utterance on things that were to manifest. So, like I said, I'm not saying that there are no prophets that do self-prophecy, but we're studying so we can discern how to depict, decode, and assist or navigate through our dreams so that they can manifest. All right, so we've talked about premonition. We talked about prophecy. So you can kind of feel like premonition is something that you yourself feels within, sometimes for yourself and sometimes for, knock on wood, but I don't know why I'm knocking on wood. But I mean, I've read articles where parents had, my daughter didn't feel like going to school that day. It didn't feel right, so I let her stay, and da 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 da. You've heard some stories like that, right? So that's premonition, to do with self. Prophecy, typically to do with the instruction, prediction of circumstances, situations around us, just to cut that in a nutshell. And let's do our favorite that we do here at Zip, baby, Zip. Hashtag DZIP. Let's do that. Dream, my favorite. We're talking about the spiritual realm. Let's get into it, because we're getting to this footage that I have, and the spiritual dream. That dream is dream and realm mixed together. All right, so the spiritual dream realm, as you've heard me often say, for my experiences with it, thank you for asking for my expertise. Just teasing. But from my experiences from the spiritual dream realm is typically a guidance. I believe that nothing happens in my waking life that I have not been warned in my spiritual dream realm. Other than, we want to put air quotes out here with our fingers, like premonitions, the gut feeling, the hunch, and so forth. But I've always been a firm believer in studying and decoding and dissecting the dreams, because most times than least, we are getting instructions, we're getting warnings, we're being told of what's to come in our waking life. Life is a spiritual journey, I believe. I believe that nothing happens to me in my waking life that most times hasn't been projected in my sleeping, in my dream realm. And don't misconstrue that, what I'm trying to say, because sometimes you will get an element of surprise in life. And so it's not like, oh my gosh, she sees everything in her dreams. And no. I'm thankful that the majority of like life serious, serious life warnings or reassurances have come through the sleep dream world. So let's get into this 1 minute clip. I'm going to put a link in the homepage of this podcast through Libsyn. And I'm going to put a link in that homepage of this article of the deceased. And I'm going to also put the link, download the link of this video and put it in here as well, so that we'll just have that on there. So, all right, we have done all that premonition, prophecy, and dream for what? And you've also heard some people refer to it as vision. In the ancient book of wisdom, you could hear it referred to as visions. I had a vision. I had a vision. I had a vision. Okay, so I do believe that visions and dreams can coincide within each other. You can have a vision within your dream of what's to come. Do prophets have visions? Yeah. A vision is literally, if you ask me, rhetorical. A vision is a vision. Okay, you're having a vision. Okay, you could daydream and have a vision. Doesn't mean it's going to come true. But let's not even get into daydreaming, right? Let's not even go that far. We're not going to do that, not today. But we have touched a little bit on that. And so this last part is a little bit somber, guys. That's why I took my time, and I just really want to, I don't want to decrease anybody's vibration, but or lower anybody's vibration, I should say. But I just want to tap into this 1 minute clip of this young lady. And the reason why I'm playing this is so that we can also, let's talk about it when we come right back from playing it. So let me set you up for this story. It's a 1 minute clip. This happened in my home country, and or my country of birth. As most of you know, I'm Zimbabwean American. Okay, so this is a young, beautiful girl, a video vixen, and this is a horrible car accident that claimed her life. The first 2 weeks of November. Okay, but before this nasty car accident claimed her life, it was actually her birthday. She's 26 years old. She died at 26 years of age, and it was on her birthday weekend. She went to celebrate it with a notorious young businessman and 3 of their other friends, so it was 4 of them. And upon their returning from the birthday celebration, it has been described in articles and media that he was speeding in his Rolls Royce, and he lost control and went head on with a car, and the car just wound up in like literal flames and ashes. His car smoked to smithereens. The driver, they managed to help the driver out of the car. Disclaimer, warning, sensitive information coming up. They managed to get him out of the driver's seat. However, it was like a Rolls Royce coupe. Don't ask me what type of model, like diving deep into it, but I call it a coupe because it had the 2 doors and the back seat didn't have any doors. But so the 2 girls were in the back seat and there was a passenger. However, by the time they got the driver out the car, the 3 people in the car, by the time they got the driver out the car blew up, caught on fire. Couldn't help the other people, and the 2 girls in the back seat were trapped in the back seat as well as the passenger. But as the car was going up in flames, and so before this accident happened on her birthday weekend, she had taken to social media because she was a socialite, and she had taken to social media to talk about a dream she had just had. When you look at the video, she is in tears, crying over. I would be in tears too, because it's kind of like a creepy dream. And I can only imagine what horror she saw in that dream, what terror she saw in the dream. But so this is it. And the reason why we're going over this information, the 1 minute video that I'm about to play, It's gonna be for the podcast. It's gonna be a voice recording, of course, from her social media. It's just to also highlight the power of the spiritual dream world, right? My job is not to sit up here and ask, had she seen it coming or had she not, or what did she think about it, because what's done is done, and may her soul rest in peace. I'm using this rather as a tutorial tool, just to remind us that our dreams do speak to us. We take a little time to dissect them and discern. And once again, at the top of this video, guys, I told you I'm not trying to scare you, or, oh my gosh, I dreamt I was falling out the plane. No, 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 no. Because we're learning how to decode dreams. Because remember, some dreams are not word for word. But you will sometimes, I've often said, especially at the top of this podcast, I'm sounding like a broken record because I like to be really clear that there are times that you may dream, and I've often said this to you all, because I've experienced this. Dreams manifest. You see things in the spiritual dream world that may manifest tomorrow, may manifest a week from now, may manifest 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15, 20, 30, a generation from now. Key is you will see things. Will they happen in pure sequence to what will happen? Sometimes it doesn't happen in pure sequence. Sometimes it doesn't happen in pure sequence. And to follow up this video, I'm going to make another podcast, and it's going to talk about my experiences as into the dreams that did manifest in a short time and what they meant for me as well, and how I decoded those dreams and so forth. But let's go ahead and dive into this young lady. Once again, it's just we're doing a tutorial here. If you're sensitive to death, all things death, this is a voice from a deceased 26-year-old who died on her birthday in a horrible car crash. But before this accident happened, in the earlier 2 weeks of November they took place, she had actually taken to social media months back talking about the dream that she had just experienced. So I'm going to play that for you right now.
I'm good for a while. I'll talk more, laugh more, sleep and eat normally. But then something happens. Like a switch turns off somewhere. And why am I crying? And all I'm left with is the darkness of my mind. But each time it seems like I sink deeper and deeper, and I'm scared, terrified that one day I won't make it back up. It feels like I'm gasping for air, screaming for help. But everyone just looks at me with confused faces, wondering what I'm struggling over when they're all doing just fine. It makes me feel crazy. What the hell is wrong with me?
Okay, guys, so that's the 1 minute clip from her social media where she's explaining her dream a couple months before this nasty accident claimed her life on her birthday. Remember, as we have been learning about decoding dreams, right? It's a really short clip, right? We cannot tell what her setting is. She's not really saying where she's gasping for air, but she just feels this gasping for air as she sinks deeper and deeper. Sound like into I don't know, but without jumping too much, because we don't know much. It was just, she was paraphrasing what she had just woken from. As she elaborated it definitely scared her. She was crying, and so when you listen to that, and if you were to decode that, knowing what you now know, you kind of like, it did give me a little like goosebump. It was a little goosebumpy moment, only because she talks about gasping for air and sinking deeper and deeper, and people are looking at her. She didn't know what to do. One of the witnesses at the car that arrived to the car accident, when they took the driver out, they couldn't get the girls from the back seat out. The car had burst into flames, and they say the females' voices were audibly loud, and they were screaming. And could this be the eyes looking at you, people looking at you, gasping for air, gasping to breathe? I don't know, folks. It's just a light decoding there, and something that I just wanted to share with you all. When I get other enlightening examples, I know this is a little bit somber, I would also want to share, but I just really, really wanted to share with you that continue working on your dream decoding, be in tune with your spirit man, be in tune with your inner self, be in tune with writing down and just mapping up the manifestations that are in your waking realm. Now remember, guys, sorry for the somber video and example, but not everything is always dark and gloom, right? Because in our spiritual dream world, we're also getting to get all kinds of good and bad. The universe works just like that. We cannot just lay down all the time, go to sleep, and everything is just always hunky-dory. Because we got to get warnings. In the next video I'm going to talk about, I will let you know on one of the dreams that I had that warned me for the next day, pretty much. All right. I love you guys so much, and happy dreaming.
For God speaks in one way and or in two, though man does not perceive it. He speaks in a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on men while they slumber on their beds. Happy dreaming.